بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful.
ألف لام ميم.
Alif, Lam, Mim.
ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين.
This is the book about which there is no doubt, a guidance for those conscious of Allah.
الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون.
Who believe in the unseen, establish prayer, and spend out of what we have provided for them.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The Quran appears to be the only religious book with verifiable cryptic codes known as Muqatta'at. These mysterious letter combinations consist of 1 to 5 letters, are arranged in 14 patterns, and employ only 14 of the 28 Arabic letters. The 29 mysterious letter combinations appear at the beginning of 29 of the Quran's 114 chapters. Here are the 29 codes. They are at the beginning of 29 chapters, and between these 29 chapters with codes, there are 38 chapters that are codeless. So the total, there are 67 chapters from here, which is the first cryptic code, Alif Lam Mim, all the way here to the last one, which is in 68. There are 67 chapters. In the previous video, we used basic numerical analysis to show the 67 chapters of Muqatta'at have a finely tuned, interconnected mathematical structure that you can see over here. We explained these in previous discussion. This divine mathematical structure is objective, verifiable, and holds true everywhere. In this video, we explore the relationship that exists between the Muqatta'at's 67 chapters and the remaining chapters of the Quran. The 67 chapters of the Muqatta'at structure have a total of 5,316 verses. Now when we add the chapter verses of chapter 2 all the way to chapter verses of chapter 68, we're going to have 5,316 verses. And when we add the chapter numbers, like 2, 3, 4, all the way to 68, the total chapter numbers are going to be 2,345. These are the total of the chapter numbers. And this is going to be equal to 35 times 67. 35 is the midpoint, which is right here. Here. So chapter 35 of the Quran is the midpoint of these 67 chapters. And chapter 67 here, number 67 here, tell us that there are exactly 67 chapters in this mathematical structure. Now here's what's very significant before we get to the next step. The 5,316 verses of the Muqatta'at framework form the basis of this work's numerical logic, which elegantly, efficiently, and flawlessly explains and validates the Quran's mathematical structure while remaining detached from human logic and reality, pointing to a more complex reality. So we get all the, beauty. This method elegantly, efficiently, and flawlessly explains and validates the Quran's mathematical structure while remaining detached from human logic and reality, suggesting a more complex reality. And this could also potentially explain the location of the chapter on reality. That is chapter 69, with profound questions about reality, and also it has exactly the same number of verses that chapter 68 has. Remember that we are working with these verses from 2 to here, but over here we have chapter of reality, on reality, and then here we have the last chapter that has the quotes, and both of them have 52 verses. Now, interestingly, even if you add the 52 verses of chapter on reality to 5,316 verses of these 67 chapters, once again, that these are going to add up to 5,368 verses, which is again, is like chapter 68. So the reality that we have may not be really reality. Okay, pure mathematics is in its way, is what we have in here. Pure mathematics is, in its way, the poetry of logical ideas. Beautiful, but it doesn't fit our logics in most cases. Now, if you replace, this is why it's so beautiful here, if you replace the first two digits with the second two, okay, this is, we have here the first two digits, here are the second two digits. If you change their places, number 5316 becomes number 1653. Now look how beautiful he is here. Miraculously, the Quran also contains another 67, exactly 67 consecutive chapters, totaling exactly 1653 verses, beginning with chapter 48 and ending with chapter 114, the Quran's final chapter. Now here, when we add the verses of chapter 48 all the way to the verses of 114, there are 1653 chapters. Now if we add the chapter numbers from 48 to 114, we're going to have this beautiful number of 5427, that the first two digits are twice the second two digits. 54 is 2 times 27. And over here, we get that the midpoint number, which is here, is 81. And this structure also have exactly 67 chapters. There are 33 chapters on this side of the midpoint and 33 chapters on the other sides of the midpoint. So that would be the total of 67 chapters. Now this is a beautiful thing here. Numbers with the first two digits, like this one, being twice the second two digits, automatically generate number 67. Like here, it generates number 67. And now you can see that the midpoint here, chapter 81, that has exactly 29 verses itself. At this point, the Quran also has 5829, which is the 29, and then 58 is also 2 times 29. So in this case, because 58 is twice 29, we're going to have also number 67. So that's what we get. We get 5829 is equal 67 times 87, and 87 itself is also 3 times 29. Now here's are the facts. The Quran contains, this is a fact, you cannot change it. The Quran contains 67 consecutive chapters with a total of 5,316 verses. So this is it. It's not like hadith or tafsir. This is the fact in the Quran. And another 67 consecutive chapters with a total of 1,653 verses. So you cannot argue against this. These are in the Quran. So we have these facts, and we have them right over here. We have here the first group, 5,316 verses, and we have here the second group, 1,653 verses. Two beautiful numbers. Now here, the two complementary structures form a fascinating mathematical framework containing 113 of the 114 chapters of the Quran, excluding Surah Al-Fatiha, which is here, which is known as the opener, the key, and the essence of the Quran. Surah Al-Fatiha is a chapter like no other chapter. It's unique. This mathematical framework clearly distinguishes between the Surah Al-Fatiha, which is recited billions of times daily, and the remaining 113 chapters. And these are facts in the Quran. Again, it's not hadith, that many of them contradict each other. The 114 chapters and their verses clearly demonstrate interconnection and a finely tuned mathematical framework. And this divine mathematical structure, which includes all 114 chapters of the Quran, is objective, verifiable, and hold true everywhere. It's universal. No matter where you go, you find this in the Quran. Again, there are a lot of information around here. Inshallah, we're going to start reflecting on them in next video. God bless you and have a nice day.